Hey you, welcome to or welcome back to Keisha's House, Motivation and Inspiration. I'm Keisha, and as always, I'm so glad that you stopped by. It's another Monday. Y'all, let me tell you, if you can see me right now, my hair exploded. It is hot. It's either you wake up hot or you wake up freezing cold. So right now we're in the middle of that, that summer heat where you're battling your family with the air conditioner. That's just where we are right now. It's just hot. So it's another Monday. And I don't mean to say it that way. It sounds like I'm kind of dreading it. But y'all, it was another really long week. I just kept thinking to myself, why didn't I take a day off? I felt like I should. And then I thought about what is on my calendar for work, and I was like, where would I have done that? So I think I'm going to go into work today. I'm probably going to take a day off, not today. And I realized I can't afford to take a day off from work for about another 2 weeks minimum. And I'm thinking that in my head. When I actually see my schedule, it might change. So we'll see. But I realized there's something about Saturday. It's just not enough. It's not enough because you're like, oh yeah, great, we have Sunday. But then Sunday, you're like, wait a minute. It's already going to be Monday? All right. So I'm not mad at it. Obviously, I'm so thankful to see another day, to see another week. It's always nice, I think, to get through a week. And that's what I love about this podcast. I love being able to reflect upon it. It provides me some closure. It gives me some clarity about the week ahead. I hope it does the same for you. But I can't shake it. It's just, it kind of got here too quick because last week was another busy week. So for those of you who are in America, we were celebrating 4th of July week. I hope you had a great long weekend. I did, but again, like I said, it was busy. I actually spent 4th of July basically in the car. So I said it last week, I will say it again. For those of you who work during the holidays, thank you so much to the Wendy's guy that was in the drive-thru, the only employee in the building. Thank you so much for feeding me and my family. We really appreciate you coming to work that day. Yeah, it was a thing. I didn't get one place until basically like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then came home. And then in the next 24 hours is back in the car. Got home at like 5 in the morning. Got home, had 2 to 3 hours of a break, and my son had to get on the road for a basketball game. Like, what? My husband was like, no, he can't go. He needs sleep. And I, being mom, am like, no, he has to. He committed. So he went, and I didn't see any of that game. Or that tournament, I should say. To my understanding, like they won 3, lost 1. I was like, hey, we'll take it. So another busy week as always, but hey, we're here. The last week's quote, if you were following along, and if you're not, well, start. I'm happy to have you jump along here on this journey. Last week's quote was the following from Robert Crawford. It was, being defeated is optional. And what I loved about that quote, especially last week, especially when we're in really busy seasons, it can feel like you're just failing at everything. It can feel that way. Not saying it's the reality, but when we're in the situation, when we're in the moment, everything just feels heavy. It feels heavy. And I don't know about you, but I thought this was going to be a nice, quiet, sleepy summer. That's what I was prepping for, and it is not. It has been a very busy, hectic, heavy summer. So nonetheless, last week felt a little exhausting. And I know I had to lean on this quote a number of times because it does feel like I'm juggling all of these balls in the air and they're falling. And you may be able to feel like you can relate. You've had those seasons as well. But it's that constant reminder that we don't fail at life. There's just different seasons. Some seasons are a little bit more busy than others. Some of those seasons are busy because it's your fault. There's some seasons that you're busy and you just don't have control over everything about, and that's okay. But the reality is we don't fail. We don't fail. it's just the cards were dealt, right? And we get through that season. And I love the phrase that life is seasons. I get excited about it because that means every season comes to an end. So when it's a season of busyness, a little frustration, or just feeling a little overwhelmed by it, we know that there's going to be an end. However, on the flip side, when we're having those seasons that we absolutely love and we're enjoying and we're vibing and everything is just like falling right in line, we know that's not going to last forever either. So it's like you got to flip the coin of which one you get, but it is what it is. So yes, last week's quote was, you don't have to be defeated. Being defeated is optional. And so as I said, I had a lot of long hours last week in the car, and I also had to go do something that's not fun. I had to go to a funeral. That's not fun. And I know, not to be a dummy downer, but it's life, right? And I was on my way there and just got really distracted with just the busyness of it all. You want to make sure your family's okay. You want to make sure that you're doing your part of how you can help. I was actually in the ceremony. I was singing, and just wanting to make sure that everything was not perfect, because there's no point to aim for perfection. You can't be. But flexing in the situation. When I got there, I thought I was going to have music, and then I didn't have music, so I had to sing a cappella, which worked out perfectly fine. But you just want it to be right. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just want to be right. And while taking care of family and making sure that I was doing my part to just really help the grieving process, it's very strange when you go to events like that and the situation is not one that anybody wants. But then on the other hand, you start seeing people you have not seen in 20, 30 years, okay? Y'all, I'm 37. There's some people I've not seen from majority of my life that I ran into. So you're all excited because you're like, oh my gosh, I have not seen you in so long. And then you remember why you're there. And then you're like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. So that was totally what my whole week was. It was like, yes, this is somber and I don't want to be here for this. But then, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see somebody. And then more and more family came out of town. And it was just a moment. It really, really was. However, like I said, I had to lean into that quote. I had to lean into it. So if I had to give myself a grade for last week, I would give myself a solid C. And you may be like, why so low? So like I said, you don't fail at life, right? So if you're new here, we grade the week. You get an A, a B, or a C. It's your rubric. You don't fail here. And you really just kind of you set whatever grade you want based off of your rubric, and then you move on. So I'm giving myself a C. And you may be like, well, there's nothing that you said that sounds C worthy. What is going on? It's my rubric. I also didn't tell you, right, that I'm in these courses and I totally forgot all about them. Why? Because I was distracted with life. And I ended up writing one whole paper on my phone on my way back because I just remembered randomly that I needed to get it done. Totally forgot to take 3 quizzes that were due from the last class. Like, it was like the last week. Forgot. Just out of my mind. Just totally forgot. And when I remembered the next day after I woke up, finally being home, hours later, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just didn't do the work. Like, I just didn't do the work. I have never in my entire life failed a course. Never. I have multiple degrees. I've never failed a class in my life. So that sounds a bit dramatic in the sense of I don't really know if I failed yet, because the biggest assignment that my instructor needs to grade, she didn't grade it yet. I don't know if she's going to. I'm still now having to advocate for myself for this to be done. But I was just like, what? I just forgot. So I had to lean into this quote for that constant reminder of being defeated is optional. There was a moment this week where I was just ready to throw in the towel. I do not know why. It has been so many roadblocks as I'm working towards being with clients again in a therapeutic session. And there are some courses that I've put myself in. It's been like 8-9 years since I've been with clients, to make sure that I am refreshed. There's a lot that has changed to put my best foot forward to help a client through a situation. And I was just like, everywhere I go, there's just these roadblocks that have been holding back this process. And I was absolutely ready to throw in the towel. And I had to remind myself that defeat is optional. We're not saying I failed. I have grades that have not yet been graded. And I know that the assignments are worthy of a good grade. So I just have to hold on. And I think that's where we have to remind ourselves. We just got to hold on sometimes. It may look bleak, but the verdict is not out. And honestly, if I didn't pass the class, it's not the end of the world. It's not. I'm going to, though. We're going to speak that. But it's not the end of the world. And I had to just remind myself of that. So defeat is optional. I'm giving myself a C. I'm giving myself a C because I almost gave in. What grade would you give yourself for last week? And if you weren't following along and you didn't know what the quote was, that's fine. But what grade, if you reflect on last week, would you give yourself? Would you give yourself an A, a B, or C? Remember, we don't fail here. But whatever that grade is, it means that there's something that you can learn. Even if you got an A, there was something that just was not perfect about last week that you could go back and say, you know what, I need to put a little bit more attention here. It could have been maybe you weren't eating the best. Maybe you need to go to work out. Maybe you need to focus a little bit more at work. But find what that root cause is of whatever had you thrown off balance a bit, and then identify what it is. Not saying you need to have a solution at this moment, but just identify what it is so you could be more aware of it going through this week. You can't address a situation if you're not aware of it. You can't address a situation if you're not aware of it. So that's where we're at for this week. Get your grade, figure out what your grade is, identify your areas of concern, set it behind you. The week is over. You're in a new week. Hello, welcome. So in this new week, I know there's always this debate. Does the week start on Sunday or Monday? According to my mother, it starts on Sunday. So yesterday, it's Monday morning. I get up really early for this. And we have this conversation. I just found myself a little lost. I'm constantly leaning into defeat is optional while I'm still waiting to figure out what's going on with this course. But I found myself perusing through my library, just trying to find a book that I enjoy and a book that I know that I can gain some wisdom from, and just looking for that aha moment, just looking for it. And I went through a couple different books. I actually ended up really liking business books, which it's not my thing, I thought, but I enjoyed them. There's a lot to learn from them. None of those were hitting the mark for me. And I ended up stumbling upon this devotional I did years ago called Hello Beautiful. And in it, there was this one sentence that I had highlighted. I love that. I love when moments like this happen. There's this one sentence that I had highlighted. And basically what the sentence was saying was that in the midst of confusion, what is it that keeps us on track and focused? In the midst of confusion, what keeps us on target and focused? And I was like, I'm not focused right now. I'm not focused. Because there's a reason why I'm taking these courses. Trust me, I have more than enough to do. I'm sure you do too. To be just throwing classes on my schedule. As a wife and a mom of 3 boys, trust, the last thing I want to be doing is reading a textbook and writing a paper. I don't want to even be doing that, right? And I was like, I'm not focused. And that is where the confusion is coming from. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a very macro-minded person. I like to see the map. I want to know where it is that we're going. And let me give you a good example. When you go on vacation, there's some people that are like, I don't know what we're going to do when we go there. We're just going to get there, and then we're just going to see where life takes us, and we're going to go with the flow. And now that would freak me out. I'd be like, absolutely not. What are we doing when we get there? Now, on the other hand, there's those people that need every single moment of their vacation scheduled. They need a full agenda. I'm not there either. That's a little too much. It feels like a job, right? At that point, not a vacation. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle. I like to have like milestones. We're going to get there, and one night is going to be a big formal dinner. A second night or a second day, we're going to be on the beach. The order of how we do these things are not necessary for me to know, but I have these milestones that we will hit. That is where I'm at. It's the same way for life. For me, I need to remind myself there are milestones that I'm aiming for. And one thing that I want to point out, one thing that I loved about Keisha's house, that was the whole point 3 years ago where I got this. There was years ago before that upgrade by KDB. And I recognize that when we talk about upgrading our lives, we're thinking that it has to be something that's super grand. We need to finish a degree. We need to have a house. We need to, it's just like these big things. And to me, upgrading yourself can be small things. Like anything that's going to make your life a little bit easier, to me, is an upgrade. Like organizing your laundry room, anything that's going to make your life a little bit easier, that's an upgrade. That's how I look at it. So when I look at these seasons in life, I'm like, okay, how can I upgrade myself, but not have to have something that's super grand? And when we talk about being focused, I think it's that same scale. It doesn't have to be like, I'm locked in and this is all I'm doing. And it doesn't mean I'm neglecting everything else around me. It's if I could just make some small adjustments. So it could be like every Thursday is my class day. Like that day, I pare things down. Some of the extra busyness that I was talking about, we just don't do those things on that day because it gives me a focused day. I realized I was not focused. And you may find yourself in that same situation where things start to feel chaotic because you're not mapped out. And again, we all get to our destinations in a different way, but we need to remember where the destination is that we're even aiming for. That's like going on a road trip but not knowing what city you're going to. You're just going to be in circles because you don't know where you need to end up. That is what I mean by being focused. And I had to remind myself that what I was doing had a reason behind it. It just wasn't all willy-nilly random. So what is it that you are confused about right now? And you've may put in days, years, months, whatever, time and money. And you get to a point and you're just like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Well, you do. You do know what you're supposed to be doing right now. You just forgot what that milestone was that you were aiming for. You forgot. And because you forgot, you're now off track and you're not focused. And that's what I realized happened to me. I was getting off track and I wasn't getting focused because I forgot what the goal was. Why? Because life happened. It got busy. Other things are popping up. And because of all of that, I got distracted. So I'm going to dive right into the quote for this week, which is always remember your focus. Always remember your focus determines your reality. I got to stay locked in because I know the focus is to get back to working with clients. But not just to get back to working with clients, because the reality is I could just do that today, regardless of the 8 years. But if I want to make sure that I am beneficial and efficient and effective, and that I could best support my client by showing up as my best self, that there's some steps that I need to take to make sure that I'm prepared. And I have to remember that focus. So always remember your focus determines your reality. I literally cannot get to the stage that I want to get to without putting in the work that I need to put in. It will not happen. I'm not going back on last week's quote. I'm not trying to admit defeat. What I'm saying is these things have to happen. And my future reality depends on what I'm doing at this very moment. At this very moment. What is it that you are doing at this very moment? Because at this moment, it is going to determine your focus. And at this moment, it's going to determine your focus will ultimately determine your reality. So what are you doing right now? That's like, I love it when people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to lose weight. Trust me, I'm in that boat. I'm going to get back in shape. But what are you doing right now? Did you really just eat half the ice cream tub? Like, you didn't go with cookies? Like, what are you doing right now that is going to get you to your reality? What are you doing? What are you doing to stay focused? And are you remembering your goal? Are you remembering your destination? So that is the challenge for this week. There's something that it is that you're doing. There's something that you're doing that needs your focus. There's something that you're doing that you have to remind yourself of your destination, because you might start feeling like your goal that you have in mind isn't going to happen. And that's because you're not focused. So I don't know what you're going to do this week. But I know you got to get yourself focused. And the reality is, I can't tell you what it is that you got to do. That's something that you have to reflect on today. Like, don't wait till tomorrow. Today, what are you going to do to get yourself focused? And or taking a step back, you might have to remember what the destination was that you're aiming for. And then you need to put something in place to remind yourself of what that destination is. And when I say that, it doesn't have to be something all cute. It literally could be a reminder on your phone once a month. I can do this. I want my degree. I can do this. I want to run this marathon. Whatever. Write it somewhere that you could see it every day. Tell somebody that you love that wants to support you how they can support you and remind you of your destination that you're trying to get to. It's on you. I wish I could say it a little bit differently, but the reality is you got to remind yourself of what that focus is and setting yourself up for support to help you remember. So when it does feel overwhelming, when it feels like you're juggling too many balls and they're starting to fall, that you can remind yourself that you are putting yourself in this situation because of the reality that you want ahead of you. So again, this week's quote is, always remember your focus determines your reality, by George Lucas. Y'all, it's still hot. It's still a hot week. I look forward to hearing how you do next week. I look forward to the week that you have ahead. That's what I love about these quotes. I hope it gives you something to think about. What are you focusing on? Are you focused right now, or are you distracted? Remember, you're worthy of the life that you want to live. Until next week, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.